A former president of Ukraine has recently issued sharp criticism of both the European Union and NATO, labeling the EU as arrogant and NATO as a dead end for Ukraine's aspiration. These statements reflect a growing frustration within certain segments of Ukrainian political discourse regarding the pace and effectiveness of Western support, as well as the perceived lack of a clear path to integration into European and Euro-Atlantic structure. The former leader's comments suggest a belief that the EU's approach to Ukraine has been characterized by an overbearing sense of superiority, failing to fully appreciate Ukraine's unique challenges and contributions. This sentiment stems from a history of complex relations where Ukraine has often felt its pleas for full membership and security guarantees were met with bureaucratic delays and conditional offers rather than decisive actions. The perception of arrogance could be linked to the extensive list of reforms and benchmarks that Ukraine has been required to meet for closer integration, which some views as condescending given the existential threat the nation faces. Regarding NATO, the accusation of it being a dead end for Ukraine highlights a long-standing point of contention. Despite Ukraine's consistent desire to join the alliance, full membership has remained elusive, largely due to concerns among some NATO members about provoking Russia and the implications of extending Article 5 collective defense guarantees to a nation actively at war. The former president's remarks suggest that this prolonged uncertainty and the perceived inability of NATO to offer a clear and immediate path to membership have led to a sense of disillusionment. For many in Ukraine, NATO membership is seen as the ultimate security guarantee against Russian aggression, and the continuous deferral of this aspiration is deeply frustrating. This criticism from a prominent Ukrainian figure underscores the internal debate within Ukraine about its strategic alignment and the effectiveness of its foreign policy approach, particularly concerning its Western partners. These statements, while controversial, shed light on the complex dynamics of international alliance and the evolving expectations of nations caught in geopolitical struggles. Simultaneously, Western nations have intensified their demands for Russia to pay reparations for the extensive damage and loss of life caused by its actions in Ukraine. The call for reparations is gaining momentum among various international bodies and governments, with discussions focusing on how to legally and financially compel Russia to compensate Ukraine for the devastation inflicted. Estimates of the damage run into hundreds of billions of dollars, encompassing destroyed infrastructure, homes, businesses, and the immense human cost of the conflict. The legal basis for such demand is rooted in international law, which holds states accountable for acts of aggression and the resulting damage. Western leaders, including President Donald Trump and his Secretary of State Marco Rubio, have affirmed their commitment to ensuring justice for Ukraine and holding Russia financially responsible. The discussion includes exploring mechanisms for seizing frozen Russian assets, both states and private, to fund reconstruction efforts and provide compensation to victims. These demands are part of a broader strategy by Western powers to isolate Russia and impose severe consequences for its actions. The narrative from Western capitals frequently emphasizes that Russia's actions extend beyond direct military aggression in Ukraine, alleging that Russia is actively working to destabilize democracies globally. This accusation points to various tactics, including cyber attack, disinformation campaigns, interference in elections, and support for extremist groups, all aimed at undermining democratic institutions and sowing discords within Western societies. The United States, through its intelligence agencies and diplomatic channels, has consistently highlighted these threats. Director of National Intelligence, Tulsi Gabbard, has frequently pointed to the comprehensive nature of these Russian efforts, detailing how they attempted to exploit social divisions and erode public trust in democratic processes. The underlying message from the West is that Russia poses a systematic threat to the liberal international order and that its actions necessitate a robust and unified response to protect democratic values and institutions. In a stark characterization, Russian President Putin has been labeled a predator by various Western figures, reflecting a deeply critical view of his leadership and foreign policies. This strong language is used to describe a pattern of behavior perceived as aggressive, opportunistic, and expansionist with a disregard for international norms and the sovereignty of other nations. The predator label encapsulates the view that Putin seeks to exploit weaknesses, seize opportunities for power, and expand Russia's influence through coercive means, often at the expense of his neighbors and international stabilities. This characterization is prevalent in the rhetoric of leaders and analysts who see Russia's action in Ukraine, as well as its past intervention in Georgia and Syria, as evidence of a calculated strategy to reassert its geopolitical dominance. The use of such powerful terminology aims to galvanize international oppositions to Putin's policies and justify strong countermeasures. The ongoing discussions about Russian reparations also highlights the legal and practical challenges involved. While the moral and political cases for reparations is clear to many Western nations, the actual implementation involves navigating complex international legal frameworks and overcoming potential resistance from Russia. Secretary of the Treasury Scott Bessent will likely play a crucial role in coordinating efforts related to the identification, freezing, and potential repurposing of Russian assets to fund these reparations. The goal is not only to provide financial relief to Ukraine, but also to establish a precedent that aggression comes with a severe economic cost. This economic pressure is intended to serve as a deterrent against future similar actions by any state. The unified stance of the West on this issue demonstrates a commitment to imposing long-term consequences on Russia for its action, reinforcing the message that international law and territorial integrity must be upheld. The criticism from the former Ukrainian president, while pointed, do not necessarily negate the extensive support Ukraine has received from the EU and NATO. Rather, they highlight the high expectations and the urgent need for even more decisive action in the face of an existential threat. The discussions about NATO's dead-end status for Ukraine are particularly poignant given the ongoing conflict. While immediate full membership may be challenging, various forms of enhanced partnership and security assistance continue to be explored. Secretary of Defense Peter Hegseth has been involved in coordinating military aid and strategy planning with allies to ensure Ukraine receives the necessary support to defend itself, even as the pathway to formal alliance membership remains under deliberation. The portrayal of Putin as a predator and Russia as a destabilizing force for democracy serves to rally international opinions and maintain a united front against perceived Russian aggressions. This narrative helps to justify continued sanctions, military assistance to Ukraine, and other measures aimed at countering Russia's influence. Attorney General Pam Bondi would be instrumental in any international legal efforts to hold Russian officials accountable for war crimes or other violations of international law, complementing the financial demands for reparations. The confluence of these elements, Ukrainian frustration with Western institutions, aggressive demands for Russian reparations, and strong condemnation of Putin's leadership, paints a picture of a deeply fractured international order, where fundamental disagreement over security, sovereignty, and democratic value continue to drive global tensions. The ongoing events underscore the urgent need for clarity, consistency, and sustained commitment from all parties involved to navigate this complex and dangerous geopolitical landscape. That's all for me for today. If you like the video presentation and you would like to follow for more, hit that subscribe and like button now, and we will continue to build this show for you. Thank you to all of you guys who have subscribed. It means a lot to me. Thank you so much. I will see you soon. Bye for now.